So I'm so honored to be on the board of INTA. It's a privilege, an honor. I love it. We have a good time, and I believe in the work that we're doing. So as a board member, I'm here to be the presider tonight, and I chose this assignment. I was like, oh, put me in, coach. I want this one. I want this one. These two people, are you kidding me? They're like two of my favorites on the planet, so let me just do that. And then I think I asked for that tomorrow night too, but I don't know if he's going to give me 2 nights in a row. Let me tell you about my friend, Dr. Durrell Watkins. Well, he's an INTA Life member, former district president and board member, and former Divine Science Federation vice president, and is concluding his second term as DSFI president. He's the dean of the Samaritan Institute, a DSFI approved ministry school, and he is the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. And honey, if you have not been to the Sunshine Cathedral, you need to go. It's fantastic. Dr. Durrell has a monthly column in the Outclique magazine. It is a contributor to the Queer Bible Commentary, 2nd edition, and is the lead anchor of the Queer God Squad on Happening Out Television Network. Oh, just hold on, it's gonna be a good time tonight. INTA has awarded Durrell the Beacon of Love Award, that was last year, 2023, and a plaque as well for chairing the 95th INTA World Congress. So please give your love and your welcome to the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins.
Thank you very. Let us dwell together in peace. And let us not be instruments of our own or of others' oppression. And now may truth be spoken, may only truth be heard. Amen. All right. So I do have a pretty long connection to INTA, and I actually love coming. This is a retreat for me. And so I love coming and centering and focusing, sometimes being super social and sometimes being sort of a hermit and reflecting and praying in private. It really pretty much depends on if there's a bar in action. So I do want to just tell you that we are having an online conference. It's one day next month, and you can find out about it or register for it at divinesciencefederation.org. What I want you to know about Sunshine Cathedral, it's a different kind of church. We say that in our opening affirmation every Sunday. So someone once said to me, if the Episcopal Church and the Unity Church had a baby, it would be the Sunshine Cathedral. And it's as good a description as any. Our affirmation we begin every service with is Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church where our God is love, kindness is our worship, compassion is our prayer, the sacred value of all people is our creed, and healing the hurts caused by hatred is our mission. Beyond that, I want you to know that I have been HIV positive for 33 years. I've been in New Thought for 39, and I think one may have something to do with the other. I can't prove it, but I have been positive for 33 years. I've never spent a day in the hospital. I've never spent the night in the hospital. When I was in London a few years ago, I did have a kidney stone, unrelated. I just eat badly and don't drink enough water. But I wound up in it, and they wanted to keep me overnight to blast away the stone. But that didn't happen. I have no problem with, I have no objection to medical treatment, surgery, any of that. It's just that I had West End tickets that night. And not even a kidney stone was going to keep me from seeing Imelda Staunton in Gypsy. And so I checked myself out, and they said, well, you only get the good drugs if you stay in. And I said, well, load me up with as much as you can, because I'm leaving. And sure enough, I was there in time, and I passed the stone the next day. That's important to know about me, though, is that I'm many things, including a show mom. And so it's important that, that even in medical situations that you stay on brand. Even you're echoing. A show mo sexual. So, all right. Like my hands when trying to lose weight. We were trying to time it so that when they graduated high school, we wouldn't be hundreds of years older than the other parents. That was what it just never worked out. It just never worked out. And then one day, at an INTA Congress in Nashville, Tennessee, we got a call from out of the blue saying that a gay teenager in Brazil was looking for host parents so that he could be an exchange student in the US. Someone gave our names to a case manager at the exchange student program, and this person called us even though we never applied to be host parents. His mother told us that we were an answer to her prayer. She prayed that he would wind up in a gay family so that he would be understood and kept safe. So Robert and I are close with his mother and his auntie and his grandma to this day. They thank us for loving him. We thank them for sharing him. And our family, I think, is a demonstration that God is love. His biological dad, his biological dad was long out of the picture, and now he had two dads, two American dads and Brazilian mom, grandma, and auntie. He had two countries of family and all the love that everyone deserves. And we just never let him go. He has called us his dad since almost the beginning. In the fall, our kid will be starting his final year of film school in England. Yeah, for that you want gay parents. And its graduation gift, in addition to the education itself, will be adult adoption. A 22-year-old gay filmmaker, yeah, that's my kid. And I feel like Sarah with Isaac. He is the child of my old age. And I never had to change a diaper. Well, about 15 years ago, well, let me say, as much joy as our family dynamic brings me, it breaks my heart to think of all the young queer kids who don't get the love and support that our kid has. He's so special to have it. Everyone deserves it. It's just that not everyone gets it. About 15 years ago, I went to visit a young man in an AIDS hospice in the Caribbean. A mutual friend of ours had arranged it, a friend of his, and it was also a friend of mine. I didn't know him. I don't recall his name right now. And I only met him the one time. He weighed possibly 100 pounds. And he was bedridden, and he couldn't speak. By his table, there were like Formula 44D cough medicine. It was just stuff from the supermarket or the local drugstore. He didn't have any prescription drugs. Combination therapies had been available for years already, and they were distributed freely by the Ministry of Health of his country. But it was so unsafe to be identified as gay that people rolled the dice with their health rather than seeking treatment for a virus that was associated with the gay community. And they often died from that. They still thought they had a better chance, might live longer, might die less painfully by taking that route, by fighting with just over-the-counter medications, than it would be to fight murderous gay bashers. Well, in this room, no AC, no staff. It was just alone, just taking whatever medicines he could open the bottles of. I knelt beside his bed and I took his hand and I prayed. When I finished, this person who didn't have the strength to stand or speak, he wouldn't let go of my hand. A frail hand with an iron grip, silently pleading for just another moment or two of human contact. I have no idea what I said in that prayer, but I will spend the rest of my life remembering that moment, because no one should die from a manageable disease, and no one should feel untouchable. A few months later, he made his transition, and he never had what our son has. I'm sorry, I held it together when I practiced it. At Sunshine Cathedral, we are in partnership with 3 other organizations operating what we call the Sunshine Pride House. We don't want people to be alone or vulnerable or without resources. And so the Pride House provides rent-free housing for 3 months to queer young people who are housing insecure, usually because they've been abandoned by their families. They get housing and food and life coaching and counseling and help looking for a more permanent arrangement. When they leave, though, if they ever get in trouble, they have a home to come back to. Sunshine Cathedral owns and maintains the property. A philanthropic organization helps us raise money for the material needs. Clinical and social services are provided by 2 other agencies. Now, how did Sunshine Cathedral get this property? 2 people, unknown to each other, one Jewish, the other atheist. Neither a member of my church, though being Jewish or atheist, they could be on the board or even be deacons or practitioners, but it just happens that they're not part of our church. And they didn't know each other, and they didn't know us, they didn't know me. And they each gave $500,000 to Sunshine Cathedral for the purpose of buying a $1 million property, which we did. And so, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, Sunshine Pride House is born, a duplex that can hold 12 people, and a consortium that provides services, and young queer lives have doors open that were previously closed. We also have a board. We also have a food sharing program that we call Loaves and Fishes. It functions like a neighborhood market. It's open on Wednesdays and people shop for themselves. Of course, there's no charge. And we never ask people why they need the food, and we don't ask them to prove that they have need. They just show up, sign in. I think the government requires that we get their name. And so they sign in, and then they go shopping. And they get what they want, they get what they need. Every once in a while, one of the volunteers will have to say, other people might need some stuff too. And but usually after they've given their little gentle rebuke, they're like, oh, go ahead, I think I've got some more in the back. So that's the extent of the micromanagement of what people do. It's very liberating. We want to preserve people's dignity. They tend to shop at the same time because they've met people and they want to gather at the same time. For Ash Wednesday this year, we provided ashes for the people shopping on Wednesday. And it was such a beautiful experience that I said, we're never having a ritual service again. We're not ever going to pretend to minister in a ritual ever again on Ash Wednesday. We're just going to do it. We're just going to be with people in need and share the moment with them and have it with them one at a time, not a ritual all together in an hour in and out, but as they approach, and it takes, we're there for about 4 hours. We'll do it individually in that setting. It was the most powerful Ash Wednesday experience we've ever had. Now, we started a few years ago, and it's built and built and built, and we now serve about 1,000 clients every week. Now, that's a lot of food. How could we afford it? I didn't know. And if you ask the treasurer, and if you ask the accountant, they'd say we couldn't. That's why I don't ask them. And we just did it anyway. Now, cash donations, food donations, grants, a staff minister to supervise it, volunteers to make it all work, it happens. It somehow happens. For years, we offered HIV testing and free condoms, and I mean, we still do. I mean, we've done this for years. And so free testing periodically, the van comes there in the yard at nighttime in the evenings, and free condoms. Now, I don't mean you go to a special place to get condoms. They are in the youth room because we want to make sure that youth have access to health and safety in life. But they're also in every bathroom. I think we have about 13 bathrooms on the campus. They're in every bathroom on our campus. And that includes prophylaxis for men and women. We want everybody to have, yes, but your church and judgment have no time for any of that. We want people to live and be healthy. And so, and by the way, we are aware that these are good things to do. We're aware that this is loving, it's generous, it's kind, it's charitable. But these things are not justice. I know this is a justice focus day, and these are good things, but they are not justice. Justice would eliminate the need for charity. We're providing a Band-Aid, but we must also work for systemic change that will not allow hunger or homelessness or preventable diseases to needlessly end lives or ruin them or hamper them in any way. Today, there are 64 countries that criminalize private same-sex intimacy.
Oh, that's Eric. Oh my God, sometimes I can't tell if
64.
it's
Imagine
Eric
the
or
last time you were on a
Jamie
date.
Vance.
Imagine the last time you had intimate relationship, whether it was someone you met earlier that night at a really fun party, or someone that you have loved for most of your life. There are 64 countries where if that person is the same gender as you, you can be fined or imprisoned or executed. 64. In fact, 12 of those 64. These are being in love with someone of your same gender is a capital offense. Only 10 officially, but there are 2 that it happens even though it's not on the books, with more frequency than the ones where it's an official punishment. And so not only are there these unsafe places, but we also need to know it's complicated because a lot of, we say, oh, they're hateful places, oh, hateful people, except what happened most of these times is that they adopted the values of colonizers who came, stole their lives, and left. And so, yes, it is brutally homophobic, which is the Victorian Anglican values that was imposed on them in the late 1800s. And so you have to address the homophobia, you have to address colonization. And if you address colonization, you have to address domination. And if you address domination, you have to address slavery. And if you address these issues, you have to address that so many people in the world today who are wealthy at the expense of these people that they went, dominated, stole, and left. And so, yes, those places have been robbed, they've been abused, they have been dislocated, and they're just not taking it anymore. Now, they may be, where they're placing their anger, I think is in the wrong place, but they have a right to be angry and suspicious. And maybe how they present it isn't healthy, but the way it was worked out on them wasn't healthy. LGBTQ plus people in rural America, in Eastern Europe, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in China, in Mexico, in France, in Brazil, watch our streaming programming every week. So at least we can encourage and connect with people in some of these more difficult places to be LGBTQ. And even in this country, I mean, it's not always a picnic here, LGBTQ plus families are marginalized by local and state governments, and kids hear Sunday after Sunday in way too many churches that their very existence is an offense to God. I remember, I was a little queer hillbilly in Arkansas, and I remember getting really angry with God. And I said, you have my permission to strike me straight right now, But if you don't, I don't want to hear any more about it. And she didn't, and here we are. An offense to God for being who you are. Not domestic violence, not attacks on civil rights, not climate change, but same gender love and attraction. Or having a gender identity that is different than the one you were assigned at birth. Somehow God has an issue with that. What a small, petty God. I have a really warm place in my heart for atheists because I don't believe in the God they don't believe in also. When states, including my own, started demoralizing drag performers and canceling them from being in parades and prohibiting them from offering drag story hour, what is more fun than a drag queen, a clown reading a story to kids? It just seems to make sense, but it's illegal now. Well, I couldn't do anything, but I couldn't not do something. And so what could I do to make a difference? I didn't know. I didn't know what to do or if anything could be done, but the lack of an answer would not translate into lack of effort. And so I did a 4-week Bible study in Advent as a persona, Dragvina Scriptura. If shows were illegal, surely worship wasn't. And a Catholic group prayed the rosary against us every week outside, against us, and held up mean signs on the sidewalk. So we had to walk past all that just to come in and do our worship. Well, the next year, which was this last year, I was invited to preach Pride Sunday as Dragvina Scriptura at the Unity Church of Nashville. And I did. Dr. Tim Stewart sort of brokered that whole deal, by the way. And for the last 2 years, drag has been prohibited in Florida Pride parades. So the last 2 Pride parades, Sunshine Cathedral has marched. And of course, we would normally have drag, but we couldn't have drag, or so they told us. Oh, here we are. And so we got banners, we got signs of historic drag performers, and we marched with those. Two-dimensional, but present all the same. We did have drag in our Pride Parade. We have a performing arts center and that features queer and ally performances and raises money for our various works. I do write for a queer magazine, a monthly column, and I did contribute a chapter in the 2nd edition of the Queer Bible Commentary. Mine is on Ezra and Nehemiah. And I emphasized Nehemiah as a queer character and also the damage of religious and ethnic prejudices in those stories. I have a chapter in a book that's to be released in a few months by the University of Delaware Press about drag, and my chapter is The Sacred Power of Drag. Melinda Kramer, you may have heard of her, prayed, "Is there a power in the vast universe that can heal me?" And the answer came as an experience of the omnipresent life we call God. And so, as a Kramer devotee, as a Kramerian, I ask, is there a power in the vast universe that can heal our homophobia, our transphobia, our xenophobia, our addiction to violence? Is there a power that can heal the damage caused by white supremacy? Is there a power that can heal white supremacy itself? Is there a power that can help us love humanity more than we love our privilege and our politics and our prejudices? Is there a power that cares more about young people couch surfing and involved in sex work just to survive? Is there a power that makes us care about that? more than we care about limiting or discouraging or demoralizing or erasing or demonizing or dehumanizing the other? Is there a power that can wake us up from the nightmare of Eden lost so that we can embrace the paradise that is meant for everyone? Am I my brother's or sister's keeper? Yes, Cain, you are. And it's time to do a better job of it. The power expresses in you, through you, as you. Linda Kramer also said, love one another. Why? Because you are love. And because you are one another. God is love. Your love is not only God's love, but it is God. My best friend in life, other than my husband, was atheist. She was a biochemist, and if she couldn't test it in a laboratory, she had no use for it. And I got to be at her bedside right before she died, and she wanted me to do something, and I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to do something that wouldn't be valuable to her. And I can't be intentionally inauthentic. And so I took her hand, and I prayed the most genuine and I believe the most powerful prayer I've ever prayed in my life. I said, I love you, and I'll miss you. And she said, an atheist, I love you too, and I'll always be with you. And her influence with me today is as strong as it ever was. And I'm so glad I didn't rattle off some words or try to remember the exact order of the 6-point formula of the divine science treatment. And I just offered love, the power of God, the presence of God. I couldn't improve on that. And I was concerned that my years, actually, this is a 2 or 3 year long battle, that my years of praying for her, and maybe it helped, maybe it's what gave her the 2 years, I don't know. But she's not going to see my kid finish college. And sometimes my fellow metaphysicians will say, oh yes, but healing's not always cure. True enough. And it did work. Not only were there all the blessings along the way, but she got the ultimate healing. And I always appreciate the kind gesture and the kind attitude and what is meant by all that. But I'm also perfectly aware that she could have died without any of that. She didn't need my magic to leave the planet. And I am so glad that I followed Melinda's advice on this one. I just remembered that I am her and she is me and we are God and God is love. And just by being that, she is still with me. I expressed God in the only way she could accept it. I still wish the chemo had worked, but that's not nothing. So, how are we going to protect queer people? I don't know. I guess we'll start out by loving them. And how are we going to erase food and housing insecurity? I don't know. I guess maybe more love. And it's okay that we don't always know. How are we going to help people heal from religious trauma? I just don't know. Seems like love is still going to be part of the answer, though. And it's okay not to have all the answers all at once. I didn't know how I might become a parent. I didn't know that I would have a husband, a life partner, a best friend, and a ministry partner all in one amazing human. I didn't know how to feed 1,000 people weekly, but we're doing it. I didn't know how we'd pay cash for $1 million house to provide a safe place for queer young folk, but it happened. Dr. King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take that first step. Some will confidently declare that God can fix all this, but I also know that what God does for us, God must do through us. So, what am I going to do? I'll probably do what I've always done. I'll take the call from the exchange program, and I'll get a team together to feed some folks, and I'll seize the opportunity when someone tries to buy a house for us, and I'll ask people to share time, talent, treasure, and testimony so that we can figure it out together. If I waited until I knew most of the good things in my life wouldn't have happened. And so I'm going to keep doing what I've always done. I'm going to throw everything I've got against the wall and see what sticks. And that's God's answer to me, and that's what I'm going to do. Fanny Brooks James, she said, I believe with all my heart in one power, and that one good, one power, the source and substance of all that is, and we cannot be separate from it. And so now with this one universal power, what are we going to do about all the hatred and fear and cruelty in the world? I don't know. But for goodness sake, let's do something. In my experience, the willingness to do something can lead to amazing demonstrations. So just do something. It might be the thing that changes the world, at least for someone. Bless you all.